The Labor Department has released its latest jobs numbers report showing new signs of economic turmoil amid the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. For the first time in 4 weeks, the U.S. saw an increase in the number of Americans filing for first-time unemployment benefits. According to the Labor Department, for the week ending October 10th, 898,000 Americans filed for unemployment. This is an increase of 53,000 claims from the previous week. Until now, the numbers had been steadily decreasing, but more companies across the country continue to lay off employees. There's also no end in sight for the coronavirus stimulus package stalemate. For more on all this, I want to bring in Mark Hamrick. He is the Washington Bureau Chief and Senior Economic Analyst for Bankrate. Mark, welcome. Great to see you. So at this point in the pandemic, what does this increase in first-time unemployment claims tell us about the current state of the economy?
Well, I think it's perfect that you set up this segment the way you did by having a demonstration of how the outbreak itself remains very prevalent even to this day. And so as we see the disease remaining very significant all across the country, that is at the heart of why we are in this place. That's how we got here. And we see companies that are continuing to suffer. We see, for example, in total about 1.3 million new claims when we look at those that are including the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. And so there is still a very high level of suffering out there among many Americans who are either unemployed or underemployed. And this is, for among other reasons, why the outlook for further substantial improvement in the unemployment rate is really quite downbeat at this point.
And Wall Street's outlook was off by nearly 70,000 claims after projecting that 830,000 Americans would file for first-time unemployment last week. What does that mean? And why were these projections so off? What is that telling us?
Well, I think, that's important for those who are basically trading the market on a minute-by-minute or day-by-day basis. The reality is that it's quite a murky situation right now. And it's important to note that while we've been watching this fluctuation on a week-by-week basis, basically we haven't moved much in terms of the new claims since August. This tells us that the recovery has lost some momentum. In terms of forecasting, it's difficult. These numbers are really a work in progress when you think about them being generated by the states. They are also a function of backlogs in some cases where individuals are filing and may have difficulty getting through. That's been a story over these many 30 weeks. But for the most part, economists have done, I would say, a decent job of telling us where they think we're headed, at least in the very short term and longer term. And looking at it in the longer term, it's more problematic.
And when you do sort of dive into the numbers and look at certain industries, are we seeing the same patterns that we were seeing at the outset of the pandemic, that certain areas, like construction are doing okay, certain other areas like retail and entertainment and hospitality are not doing okay? Are we seeing the same patterns?
Well, I think one of the most important points I'd want people who are watching today to take away here is that when we talk about a so-called K-shaped recovery, what we're really talking about is a divergence between the haves and the have-nots. And this is more pronounced right now than really any time probably in the last 100 years, if not longer, to the extent that we have segments of the economy that are doing just fine, if not well, right now. We have home renovations are booming. Contractor telling me this week that basically he's facing a 2-month backlog just trying to get appliances because there are so many home renovations underway. Home sales are doing well. We have retail sales among the chains are up on a week, or I should say on a year-by-year basis. And we have some retailers like Target, for example, obviously Amazon, Walmart, grocery stores doing very well right now. And then we have those at the other end of the spectrum that are not doing well at all or even liquidating or filing for bankruptcy. So it's definitely an evolving situation. We still have enterprises that are trying to adapt to this work from home environment. And I think that adaptation is going to be continuing, and it's going to transform really the economy and business in the short term, but also with long-term implications.
So interesting. And Mark, the president has, of course, touted his success in creating a strong economy. It's a key portion of his re-election platform. Do you think the current weak economy is on the minds of many voters as they begin early voting? You know, many states have already begun early voting. And how detrimental is it that there is no coronavirus relief bill on any kind of horizon at this point?
Well, I think it's significant, Tanya, that when the president has been speaking, very often he will frame it in terms of what happened before the pandemic, because the real-time story is not a very positive story to tell. In the sense of the relief legislation prospects, you know, just today's the Senate Majority Leader McConnell, obviously representing Republicans in the Senate, is basically saying a $1 trillion plus measure is not going to come to the Senate floor. So it seems like we have members of the House as well as the administration talking about one trajectory for legislation, yet the Senate really talking about a separate set of facts and expectations. It does appear that some legislation may come to the Senate floor in the coming days, but I would not be staking my hopes or investment plans on that legislation getting through both houses of Congress and the White House.
Right. It certainly doesn't look like Americans will have checks in their hands before the election. Well, Mark Hamrick, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.